Okay, 6:09, let's call meeting of the Charter Review Committee to order. It is Tuesday, June 29th, and we'll do roll call. Dating fast.
Present.
Present. So at this point, Andrew's not here, but we were expecting him, so I haven't heard anything. Right. So a lot of times this work, as we know, is a little tricky. All right. So we have a quorum. There's three of us. And item number 3 is to consider and accept Charter Review Committee minutes, June 15th, 2021.
I'll move for discussion.
Wait a minute.
Just at the
June 20th. Should be June 20th, not 15th.
I had June 20th.
June 20th.
Yeah.
Am I reading it wrong?
Yes. But it was at 6, not 6:30.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I meant on the agenda.
Did I put it on?
Yeah, the agenda.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, the agenda says
I'm
15.
really thinking I'm off here. I got the wrong
Oh, it's
agenda.
me, I'm sorry.
Okay, so the agenda just needs to read June 20th. No big deal. And yes, and we did start. No, did we start at 6:30 that time?
Nope,
no,
6:10 actually, but the meeting was at 6.
Oh, okay. I know we had one at 6:30 somewhere along the line. All right.
I'll do the 15th.
Cool. All right, so we have a motion to open. And we'll have discussion after that. So you moved?
I moved for discussion, yep, and then I
You
mentioned, yeah, she did.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. Now that we're
Change the time from
Yeah.
6:30 to 6.
Okay. Now, this is a great minutes. I mean, this is a huge 5 pages. We did a lot of work last time. But there are I have a couple of things. Do you have something you want to say, Pam?
Nope,
first?
go ahead.
Okay, so as on the first page, under number 5, and we talked about the charter, let's see, H, the red markings, except as otherwise set forth in the general laws according to the charter of the town manager charter. So my problem is, I think in the charter, because I looked it up and I don't remember it saying, usually it's or by this charter, versus according to the charter. That's what it was in the previous two. I didn't think, and I looked at my notes and I didn't see us changing that, just changing, just making sure charters.
I had that changed before, so.
You did, okay, so I don't, well, I guess we just want to know how
Change
it's,
it again, we can change it again.
well, we wanted to say or by, which was the original verbiage.
Or by this charter.
Yeah,
Okay, so
and versus
change-
according to the charter
Mhm.
or by this charter,
Okay, so
because
change according to, we say or by
this,
this charter.
right, because it's anything in this charter or the general laws. It's kind of how it's worded in a few other places in here when it's referring to the charter. Okay, so let's see, what else?
Could I just
Yeah.
tag on to that? So, and it should actually be Chief Procurement Officer, because CPO is actually defined in the law.
Oh,
So that is the actual title.
and that wasn't our notes, you're right, yeah. So can we go through that so many times and then it's still a little tricky?
So it should read, except as otherwise set forth in the general laws or by this charter, the town manager shall serve as the chief procurement officer,
Mhm.
excluding school.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think excluding public. Okay, great. So we're there. Let's see. Change that. Here's the other page. Oh, no. That's the one. Yeah. Let's see, section 4. Yeah, I was going to add, under the removal of the manager, you had that first sentence where you said, discussion, all councilors should be present. And I know there's a lot of comment about, but not always possible. So I know Andrew was very much saying all councilors should be there for that vote on the town manager, yet we kept saying that it's not always possible. So I didn't want it to make it look like we believed that we believe they should all be there, we just know that's.
So that was just part of the discussion.
Yeah, and then down below you did say that, you said, somewhere right, we made a note, it should, further councils need, all should be present on a vote like that. So that kind of does it. So at first I said I was gonna have you put in, but not always possible, just to make it clear that we understood that that's, the intent was, she should be there, but we get it, it's not always gonna happen. My only problem now then is in the red, we got some redundancy, and I don't recall, as I looked up my notes, so you've got, removal of the manager shall be effected by a 2/3 vote of the entire council in an open meeting. Then you've got i.e. minimum 6 votes. So my first problem was, I believe the i.e. 6 votes should be right after the word council, entire council, so as not to be confused at all. In other words, entire council in parentheses, i.e. minimum 6 votes. Then you had add an open meeting. It would be after that. I got that. This goes on to read, prior to the expiration of their term of appointment at an open meeting. So we have open meeting twice, and I don't think that was correct. So I think if you leave open meeting up there, then prior to the expiration of their term of appointment.
Period.
Period, yeah. If that makes sense. I think it was just a little blitz of all the words. Appointment term shall immediately rescind said appointment.
And that has to be changed too.
Yeah, what was that? Do you have that actual wordage? I knew there was something wrong with it, but I wasn't sure what. Let's see here. I have it written. Andrew was taking notes. Look at it. Chapter, that's chapter 4. Chapter 4.
So I have that, actually that sentence says, removal of the town manager prior to the expiration of their term of appointment shall be effected by a 2/3 vote of the entire council, i.e. minimum of 6 votes, at an open council meeting. So I have prior to the expiration of their term of appointment, because it looks like the open meeting has to take place prior to the expiration of their term of appointment. It's actually removing the manager prior to their term of expiration, the expiration of their term of appointment. That's what my notes say. Removal of the town manager prior to the expiration of their term of appointment shall be effected by a 2/3 vote of the entire council, i.e. a minimum of 6 votes at an open council meeting. At an open meeting, so.
That's good.
That makes more sense. So can you repeat that again?
Removal of the town manager
Yeah.
prior to the expiration of their term of appointment, and then shall be effected by a 2/3 vote of the entire council, i.e. a minimum of 6 votes, at an open meeting.
That's why this last sentence, where it says appointment term shall immediately rescind said appointment, that's why it's, because we're trying to tie in.
But then we had another, and I don't have it in here, but I know that because remember we had that discussion that you said council told you, and you guys
That you
went
had to
through
do
this.
Yeah,
Right.
that's fine, yeah.
So that vote,
Just let me look on page 4 notes. So I was looking for my other, and I have page 4 here, and I'm trying, that's why I'm going to look in the manuscript. And I have a look. Oh, you know why? Because I think that's when Andrew ended up using some of my chapters, so I'm not trying to get where I put that. So I think that's what that line means, the appointment term shall immediately rescind said appointment. I think that was a separate line to effectively rescind the appointment. Do you know what I
right,
mean?
but appointment term doesn't, you have to say.
It doesn't make sense.
Removal,
Such
a vote to
dismissal
remove the
shall-
manager shall immediately rescind said appointment.
Right, right.
That's not what we said, but I think we can change that. And I listened to it too, and that's what it.
So it said appointment term shall immediately,
Rescind said appointment, but, I mean, I'm willing to change it, I'm just not sure.
That makes no sense, though, appointment term.
yeah.
That out, okay. So.
It has to say something like, so you're gonna be referencing the previous sentence.
Okay,
Oh.
Pam, one more time.
I'm just gonna have to start jumping.
Read.
The whole thing?
Yeah, one, two, it's right.
Go slow.
All right, the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay, removal of the town manager
Yep.
prior to the expiration of their term of appointment, shall be affected by a 2/3 vote of the entire council.
Right, i.e.
Yep, at an open meeting,
at an open meeting.
period. Now that second sentence though, we gotta fix that.
Okay.
Do I have it written here? No, I don't have it written there either. I thought. I mean, it can be as easy as a vote to remove the manager shall immediately rescind.
Why not just saying, like we did before, such vote will immediately rescind?
That's fine, shall immediately rescind said appointment.
Such vote,
Yep,
which refers back to what just happened, shall immediately.
rescind said appointment, yep, good,
Does that make sense?
yep.
Of course, I think that was the one we were gonna make sure we could, that's something that really needs to be, it's probably a legal review too or something, in some way, shape or form, I don't know, it's one of those things. Oh, fell on paper. Wait, let's see. Shall immediately rescind, let's see, okay, removal of town manager prior to expiration of their term of appointment shall immediately rescind said appointment.
Yep,
I think that was the second, the whole sentence was the removal of town manager prior to expiration of their term of appointment shall immediately rescind said appointment. That's exactly.
so we
So you must have-
actually repeated it?
We must have.
repeated some of it?
We must have. Oh, no.
That would be the second
I'm
sentence.
looking, yeah, because I see it again. Removal of by 2/3 vote of entire, that's the first sentence.
Yes,
Of their term of appointment shall immediately rescind said appointment.
yep,
It's just a shall versus such. In other words, removal of the, because however, subsequent terms of balance during the term, no, that's the other one. So no, that's all I have for my note right there.
okay, but
That
what
makes
you said
sense.
makes sense, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, it's just, this is not gonna be good tonight. The lighting.
Oh,
Is it time to wait? Where's the sensor?
You can't do anything about it.
you can't just put it on?
No.
Yeah, you
On,
if
on?
you make move.
We don't, but if you have to get up.
You have to get out. I'm up. I'm out of the camera. Oh, there we go. So as I'm saying, where is the sensor? So we just do the same thing each time. There's a sensor somewhere. God, that wasn't that long we had to do that. All right, okay.
So, removal of the town manager prior to the expiration of their term of appointment shall be effected by a 2/3 vote of the entire council, i.e. a minimum of 6 votes at an open meeting. Okay? Such vote shall immediately rescind said appointment.
Yep,
Right?
that'll take care of whatever
A and B?
issue,
Okay. That's so funny that it's on there.
hopefully.
No, it's okay. Alright, so let's see. What is that? So, number 7, acting town manager. That was the case, just doing 2 years. Oh, in the original on the town manager,
Where you at now?
section 7. Section 7? Yes, section 7, acting town manager. So originally it's during the absence of disability of the town manager. But now here we've got during the temporary absence of disability. We took, right, no, we took disability. We actually, yeah, we did take disability out. I still, I didn't notice
It's not,
that.
it's crossed out.
Up top, right. Well, yeah, now the new still shows it. Yeah. But that, I was looking at the top one. We just didn't have the
Oh, yeah.
word town manager in there, and I think it sounds weird to say during the temporary absence and
The temporary absence of the town
Any-
manager.
any permanent I think we still should put the word town manager in there.
Yeah,
Because it was in the original. The original was the town,
Well, could you say the temporary absence?
of the town
Of
manager.
the town- that's what we were
shall be
supposed to
appointed
say.
by the council?
Yeah.
yeah, absence of the, an acting town manager shall be appointed by the council to perform the duties of the town manager. That was right. Any
Yeah,
permanent vacancy, yeah, we put that in
Yeah.
at the office. The town manager should be filled as soon as possible.
yeah,
Extended. Yeah, so everything was fine. It was just that putting in the word town manager and taking out.
And
I didn't even notice it
then
down
we
there.
also added the original term of service of any person may not exceed 12 months. In the charter right now, it says the term of service may not exceed 12 months, but you've already blown that out of the water, so we need to fix that. So we did.
Original, right?
So we put original, right, meaning that it can be extended.
Yes. All right, so that was good. Next time, gotta definitely print on Joe's one. Let's see.
Yeah, we changed consent to
Recommendation.
recommendation.
Yep, chapter 6. Oh, it's printed really strange. Question on process.
Yeah, we added subcommittee meetings.
Yeah, that was one.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Those are all, those all fine. Check mark on. So I think that was all good. It was just, yep. Okay. So I think those are major. I have a question, and I think the answer I know, but I want to make sure. As I look and we see the flag, are you actually keeping a flagged record? So just a flagged? Because it's right there on the back of our minutes, but you do have a flagged one? Oh, awesome. I knew the answer was going to be yes, but I just had to ask because it just was jumping out at me when I was looking at this. I know, yeah, it's a flag. She's waving her flag. Okay, so those were my,
Yep.
my deals.
Great job, Yvonne.
Do we have a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I'll make the motion to, yes.
Second.
See, she's really.
No, I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, no, that's good. And now, since we are discussing the minutes, and you had that last page of you had the pre-stuff there, which you, I don't know if we saved that to the section.
No, I was going to say that.
You didn't put in anything, yeah,
I was
so.
just giving that to you from you guys.
Okay, all right, that's for the big.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
it's
good
not
then.
for any of that.
All right, we can discuss that for saving our comments. Okay then, so that's all that. Moving on. So, we are starting on chapter 7. We're in 7, which is awesome. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, chapter 7 is the town attorney. Town attorney. Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have so many town attorneys now. Oh, thanks, Judy.
So are we gonna wait to go over the flagged stuff later?
You mean the recently flagged or?
Yeah.
We have a lot of old flagged.
No,
We should probably have a flagged meeting at some point,
okay.
just on flagged items.
We can add that to the agenda.
Or we can go back on some, is there something you need to go back on tonight? That, I mean,
Does
this
it
is,
affect the chapters we've already worked on?
Yeah.
It does.
Well, I had homework, so
Yeah, what?
I had homework.
You didn't.
okay. Oh, on the chief? Yeah, we can go back.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's, let me go back up.
What section was that?
That was the strong chief
Yeah.
section. So that was, town auditor. That was in 4.
Well,
definitely.
that was,
Yeah, because quasi-judicial's there, and I don't have a full answer. I do have some comment, but I don't have an answer. Yeah, that's 424.
Yeah.
So 424 was in regard to fire chiefs, police chiefs. However, this had to do with the town manager, and it's subject to confirmation by the council. The town manager shall have the power to appoint on the basis of merit and fitness alone. And this is where it was questionable as to whether we adopted the strong chief
okay,
statute.
so that second paragraph, the question was upon, that the town manager appoints, and it has that list, upon the third line down, upon recommendation, I'm sorry. a fire department upon recommendation of the chief of fire department. So that was what I questioned,
Right.
because in the strong chief law, the fire chief appoints the fire department. We did accept Chapter 48, Sections 42, 43, and 44 at a special town meeting, December 19th, 1935.
So we did
We did.
a special town council meeting on Wednesday?
No, it's not, it was a special town meeting.
Oh, special.
We had town meeting back then.
Okay.
So
special.
when was this?
December 19th, 1935.
Oh, my God.
Oh my
1935
gosh.
At a town,
That could
special
really
town
affect
meeting.
things. Holy mackerel, how did you do?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
So
I could
I have a copy of the actual warrant article to see if the town will vote to accept general law amendments thereto relative to the appointment of the chief of the fire department, and the town accept the provisions relative to the appointment of the chief of the fire department.
But I have
So, my only thing is, I understand this is how things are done. However, this section of law says that the fire chief does not have, they can appoint their own. So I think we should put additional language. We have to clarify that it is understood pursuant to this charter that we need to put language in here saying that.
But did having the charter and changing the governance of the community change something from 1935?
No, but I don't know, you guys tell
I gotta
me
look
if
at the
you
old
think,
one.
if you think this language does it.
But if we,
What's this sort of-
So if we're saying in this section where it's, you know, town manager's appointments, we're saying upon recommendation of the chief of fire department, do you guys think that's sufficient?
yeah, but
Okay.
I guess my question is, does the charter supersede that?
Yes.
vote?
It, well, doesn't supersede, but if it's, the charter is our local, like the local bylaw,
Yeah.
local charter, so I don't know if that's a question for council. You know, if we have under the responsibilities of the town manager that they appoint the fire department, even though he or she is a strong chief, does that take their,
Well,
So wait,
they appoint
yeah,
the fire chief right now, like he just hired a new person at the meeting last night, you say, and it was confirmed by the town council.
but it
He
was,
chose that person.
but
I'm
it
saying
went,
it doesn't-
then it went to the town manager, it's the town manager's appointment, and then it's confirmed by council.
but you're saying it's supposed to be the chief?
A strong chief, and this is the other thing too, a strong chief has the power to, strong fire chief, not a
Fire
police chief.
Right,
A police chief it does not have that power,
okay.
even under the Strong Chief Act, the 97A or whatever it is. And we did actually adopt that too.
Okay.
So we have a strong fire chief and a strong police chief. The difference is a strong fire chief has the ability to appoint and remove any officers or firefighters under his or her control.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
that's what and we adopted those sections of the statute. And
How do
in,
you,
So we don't know, is he still here? Oh, we don't
Yeah, he's
know,
here.
I'm just curious. I'm trying to think in the past, what's has
has it ever been that way?
Has there been much on removals? Well, I mean, I think we need more research. We can ask some ex-chiefs, that's easy enough to do. You know, who removed. Are you
Lenny
saying?
was at my house yesterday.
Yeah, I saw him this morning. I could text him. We can come back to it. So you're saying if they wanted to fire somebody, it doesn't come from the town manager at all?
I'm saying
Or if they wanted to
we
hire-
adopted the section of statute.
Right.
Okay? So a strong fire chief by statute that
Yeah.
the town adopted has the ability to appoint
Yeah,
and remove,
right.
with a hearing, of course, you
Right,
know, there's due
right.
process
But
in
it does
the
not
statute, but
require
it does not require, no.
council to approve it.
No,
In other words, you don't have to come and say, here's my appointments, you know.
unless something else changed this, I don't know that.
so if he chose this person, we'll say that we just hired, he did not, He didn't have to bring it to the manager, and he didn't have to bring it to council.
According to
According-
statute.
According to that statute.
According to the Strong Chief Act, no.
No, okay.
But did
But
Southbridge
that's
do something to,
I don't know.
to change that? When was it changed? I mean, we're talking 1935. Was it changed when we
That's more.
adopted the town manager? From selectman to a town manager? Was it changed then? I don't know the answer to that question.
Now, you say that doesn't apply to the police.
No.
But the police still bring their candidates forth to the town manager and
Mhm.
the council as
Yeah.
well. That's state.
Police chiefs,
always did that.
even if it's a selectman form of government in town meeting, police chiefs do not have the ability to appoint, not under the Strong Chief Act. They do not. Only fire chiefs. In that type of situation, selectman is still the appointing authority for all the chief and all police officers. So, I don't know, just,
So.
I found it
instead of-
interesting. There he is. His ears were ringing.
Mr. Cole, could
He's
we
not
ask
here.
you a question?
He's not here.
Sneaking out.
He's
No,
not here.
no.
Could you attend our meeting for like 3 minutes?
I told you to go out there to the door.
Sorry.
Are you familiar with the Strong Chiefs Act statute, rather?
Fire.
Strong Fire Chiefs, yeah.
I'm aware of it, but I don't know it intimately. I would
Okay.
have to do some work on that and get back.
So the question, I had the question when we were going through your responsibilities as far as appointments go. And in here it says upon recommendation of the chief of fire department. It's been like that. We do have a strong fire chief though. The act was adopted back in 1935. And
She just discovered.
with a strong fire chief, under the act, they have the ability to appoint and remove. A strong police chief doesn't, but a strong fire chief does. So I'm wondering where along the line, if Southbridge ever changed that. Obviously, they did at some point.
Two things, we could go back and look. The clerk keeps a record of every time we adopt certain statutes. So you did go? Okay.
The other question I had was, this was done in 1935, and charter was adopted in 1973. So did a new charter, if indeed, which I'm just trying to find, if it doesn't comment on it anywhere, if it still says the power to these appointments are with the manager, does it then supersede the statute that was voted on by the people in 35?
Yeah, and that's what I would.
That's your order, yeah.
I would have a similar question. I would just have to do some research.
And I'm not
Well, we can do-
suggesting
yeah.
changing it and allowing the fire chief to do that. I'm just saying to make it so that, we've had good fire chiefs. If at some point in the future, I'm looking toward the future, if there might be a difficult one, you don't want to butt heads with a difficult fire chief. He or she is a strong fire chief, and then if they, So,
No, it's worthy of a little more digging just to see. As I said, off the top of my head, I don't know how those two dovetail. So you can put it as a little, I'll help do some research.
We can look in the 1973 when the charter was formed, start there maybe, and that would give us an idea.
Well, that's what I'm looking right now in the
Back in
70s.
1973.
Yeah, but it would be-
The original, that doesn't mean
Oh,
it's.
sorry.
It's been changed,
That's
it's
okay.
amended since then.
adopted in 73. I mean, the
Yeah.
73 one, I thought we had the 73 one too.
I don't,
We have to look at, yeah.
But
I'm thinking if you go back.
I don't think I can answer anything more on it, but I'm more than happy to look and see what we can find out for you.
I just want to make sure that, maybe this language suffices. It's under the town manager's realm of responsibilities, and maybe this suffices and supersedes the fact
Yeah.
that they have the ability to do that.
Okay, makes sense. I can help do some research. Look at it this week, so. All right,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
have a good evening, folks.
Thank
See
you.
you later.
Hanging out with us. All right, so I did see on chapter 8, page 16 of the one that we have.
The charter.
It was amended 11/17/86, so I'm not really sure. The powers to appoint town officers The town manager shall have the power to appoint subject to confirmation by the council the following town officers: town treasurer, town collector, veterans agent, director of inspections, blah, blah, CNO, plumbing. But here, police department, fire department, and does say chief, it says police department, fire department,
Okay.
finance department head, blah, blah.
Because he does have the, I mean, that's not even a question as to his ability to appoint the chief. It's then the chief appointing and removing and/or removing the subordinates.
Right, but it doesn't say chief here. It says
Fire
department.
department.
You know,
So
here it
who,
says chief.
oh, well, then obviously the
It
chief
says
is included
department.
in the department.
So now, was that
So
what
now
was
that
amended? You
changed.
do have to go back to the original in 70-something to see what it said.
So now that
Because it did
changed.
change November 17th of 86. All it said was department. Yeah, isn't that interesting? And somewhere along the line it changed, it should say.
Somewhere along the
See, here's the
line,
problem.
it was
They're no longer
added.
putting it in. I can tell you that this is the problem we have with keeping records here, is they'll say, oh, you know, they don't cross it off and keep it in, as we've talked about.
Yeah.
We are doing it right, where you cross off, leave in red, you know, you put the new word. That's what the state does when they do statutes and stuff. There might be a lot, very many pages, but that's how you know what happened prior. In the past, on this one here, for instance, they may not have crossed things off, so you don't know what it did say, but at least they have the dates right by the paragraph that say when
when
they
it was
changed
adopted,
it.
yeah.
So unfortunately, now when we get our charter, all you get is sections. And you get on the front cover, adopted, you know, actually says revised, you know, let's see, 2003, 2004, 2016.
But you don't know what
You have
sections
no idea what
or,
sections or when or what. Now supposedly, you're supposed to be able to get that, but I can tell you that it's been hard in the past to whittle that down to where, how that is. You've got to go find that year and do it yourself and figure it out.
so it's interesting that they pulled out
Yeah,
a fire chief, a police chief, and then added, upon recommendation of the chief, a police department. Yep, that makes sense. And then upon recommendation of the chief of fire department. But, you know, again, do they know that under the Strong Fire Chief Act,
maybe not.
that is actually the responsibility of the fire chief? And again, I am not in any way, shape, or form suggesting that should be changed.
Right.
That it's the manager's appointment ultimately at the recommendation of the chief. It's the manager's appointment subject to council. However, I don't want to run into a problem because the statute is the statute. That's all.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
So that was interesting. Interesting
So do you
research.
want-
So now we gave the town manager some homework.
No, I can't keep it.
I'm teasing.
Okay,
So,
move on.
yeah, so my question is this, should I go down to the town clerk's office and try to get the original 1973 charter and see if there's a change in there?
See
That
what
would
it
have been
said,
the first
see what it
step,
said.
right? That would have been the first
Right,
place
and
to
maybe we
start.
can follow it through and see
Yeah.
when.
We start going, if I pull out the documents, the original documents, not the amended
Right.
version, maybe starting at 1973, we
Yeah.
can find out where that statute
Where it
goes.
changed, and then
Yeah.
hopefully, well, it will be in their office, even though maybe the information that we get doesn't, but it'll reference when,
Yeah,
and we
give us
can
an
look and
idea
see
of
the
where to look.
discussion or whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I can tell you, like on this charter where it says certain things, it says amended, adopted 73, effective 74, amended by the acts of 86, December 23rd, 86. That's, I was telling you that there was 86 was the year I pointed to that section was changed. So that would be so it would have
Okay.
started from the original and only to 86. There's nothing in between. Unlike if I had said, 90, then you would have to look through 86 or 73 or, you know.
So you want me to
So
look at
73 to 80 to the 86?
It's 73, 86, 88, 90, 91.
Oh, so it doesn't say it was done in 86?
Well, yeah, yeah, it does.
It does,
Page
that's what it
16,
says.
Okay.
yeah, page 16 said, it showed it was amended, powers to appoint, actually it was amended at a town council meeting, amended. They
In
amended,
1986?
they amended the charter November 17th.
How can that be?
Oh, maybe that means, but they must have sent it, chapter 641, acts of 86, December 86. So maybe they sent it to, they would have had to send it to the state to get it approved. Let's hope. So, yeah, it would have
All
been the original the original charter is where we're wondering what happened between 73 and 86. That's it. Now, like I said, if I had said 90, you would have had to get
So 73 and 86, okay.
So that's it. That should give us some interesting information. Hey, copies of that 70.
It was Article 8, Yvonne, if you want to reference that too, at that meeting.
Do we have a copy of that?
I can, you want
I'll
to make a copy? And here's the police chief one too, I mean, that doesn't matter, but,
One copy. What pen has?
If it's just a page, yeah, I'll throw it into my notes. Just, I swear it was. Older. Maybe we just had pages of the older one. We had something at one time that was. Nope, can't find anything old. Unless I have it at home somewhere. Something else. Okay. Okay. Now. I've also had a problem that even changing council rules and regs, you know, so amended. Well, what was it amended from? What was, you know, you keep a copy somewhere, but then it's a lot of work to go down and try to dig through the archives to find a comparison, so you know what, so you don't repeat. What
Thank you.
You change it, then you change it back. There must have been a reason somebody changed it. So, thank you. That's pretty cool.
1935.
I know.
Even I
It's like,
one then.
that was like Dave Adams with his, with the soldiers thing, you know, with the pictures of the old dockets.
This is older than me.
Phew.
I know.
Alrighty.
okay, sorry,
So-
I just,
No, that was a good catch. That was a good.
Information.
Yeah. I mean, likewise, the only thing I still have not
So
gotten.
we're gonna still keep that flag, I
Yes.
guess, right?
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
So we're gonna still further homework on section 4-24.
So, the other thing we were discussing there just for us was the quasi-judicial boards. And I've called a few times to the AG's office. I haven't gotten anybody on the phone yet, so we'll try again. And I'm going through, I was looking at the municipal government section, even though that tends to be sometimes other things that seem to be the main area that I should probably contact. So that's what I've been trying. But in the meantime, doing work, you know, how to remove quasi-judicial boards, how to, you know, I was trying to find that kind of stuff out there. The only thing I found was something, guidelines for quasi-judicial bodies. Back in 2018, it was written by 2 attorneys, and it was kind of interesting because it just talked about, wait a minute, hang on here. If the board is having issues with that's staff, okay, so let's see, having issues with staff. If the board is having issues with members not, I wrote it down because it's not very much seen it in that little piece of paper right now. I thought I took a screenshot of this spot. If they're having issues with the staff, they address that behind the scenes. If they're having issues with the board members not making good decisions, they feel, then it's the governing body's obligation to remove them. Now that's what it says for local.
The board itself?
So if a quasi-judicial board, if members appear to not be making qualified, informed, good decisions, then it's the governing body
Council could remove
who's
them.
supposed to remove them. That's what it
Is that
says.
the board
The
itself?
The entire board, or just the members that are not?
The members that are, no,
The other members.
Yeah,
Board
so this whole guideline is, it's like 12 sections. It talks about, you know, you're supposed to be doing a judicial process. No, you don't wear a robe. However, you have to act like you know, you have to listen to all the facts. It's explaining, this is a quasi-judicial, this whole article by these 2 lawyers is about guidelines for being a member of a quasi-judicial board. And it talks about if a member is not making good decisions, then the governing body, to me that's the appointing body who put the quasi-judicial board together, should make the decision to remove that member. Now it's interesting because when I was trying to look at removing quasi-judicial board members, all I was getting was Congress. I was getting
Yeah,
federal government
I
layers,
couldn't
not
find anything in
local.
this.
Yeah,
I
right.
tried
So
myself.
you were probably getting federal government
Yeah.
stuff, and it was always about Congress removing members of quasi-judicial boards,
interesting.
an act of Congress. So when this came up, it was the first time I saw this is based in New Jersey. This article is, Jersey people, whatever. It's the public volunteer member quasi-judicial board, and their comment was the governing body needs to remove them. So to me, I don't know, it wasn't specific to, like, it didn't say town council, select, whatever, just the governing body needs to remove a member that appears to be making poor
Okay,
decisions.
so
So I'm just saying, I don't know if that's true everywhere, Massachusetts, I couldn't find it except for the Attorney General's office to go and ask them still, just saying. I thought that was very interesting. It would make sense, a government, so if it's not, the TM has the right to appoint the quasi-judicial members. I don't know,
if you read, like the instance we just had,
yeah.
that person was presented a letter of resignation. The manager talked to him and tried to work it through with him, and he decided to really just resign. So would the town manager have had the right to remove him if he didn't
Yeah, see, that's a
resign?
question.
That's the thing.
Well, I don't know that this isn't quasi, I'm talking about more about
That's
Board
a
of Health.
quasi-board.
Oh, the planning board, oh. Not familiar with that. Interesting. It says the governing body, so I don't know what else to tell you. Anyway, that was the best I could
So
find.
but I'm just saying that if it's one person that like would come to the manager's attention,
Mhm.
that person, it's not something that the
It's
manager
usually
handles alone, it would have to be the town council also.
Guidelines for judicial boards. Planning boards.
So would it be at the
Planning
recommendation of
boards,
the town
when
manager?
hearing and development, they're talking about, the planning boards are a quasi-judicial board. The article goes on, it's really got some great, planning board is the big one, of course,
We have the board
because,
of health too.
right, let's see, thus, the best way to understand quasi-judicial in a New Jersey zoning and land use context is to view it. So they're talking about using a board like a court, and they're saying that like a planning board is like the court. You come in, you have to,
It's like the ZBA and the planning board.
It's long been a law in Jersey that board members acting in a quasi-judicial capacity and exercising powers granted to them make decisions. So again, they're pushing this on, and then they actually state cases, and then this goes on, there's 12 different points about, how you do your research, how you listen to the information, how you act judicial. That's the whole point, quasi-judicial. No personal involvement, if you have obviously a conflict of interest, all those things. But what was interesting, like I said, is when it came down to, I don't understand why my screenshot didn't leave that for me. By the way, observations, I'm hearing the board must have been fair too. There should be nothing political. There should be nothing political in the decision making. But see, that's the problem. They didn't tell you how these, obviously you have to see how they're volunteers. No abuse of authority. Yeah, I'm not sure what it actually was. All I know is, like I said, it talks about that it has to be removed by the governing body. So I was trying to figure out what the governing body was. So that was the only thing I get local, which is why I still want to push for the, I'll still keep pushing to get somebody to talk to me at the AG's office. So, all right, that was my little bit of one.
Okay.
Okay, so anything else before we move forward with chapter 7, the town attorney? Okay, seeing no objections. Appointment and duties. The town manager shall, subject to confirmation by the town council, appoint the town attorney to serve as chief legal advisor to the town council, the town manager, and all town departments, offices, and agencies. The town attorney shall represent the town in all legal proceedings and shall perform such other duties as may be prescribed by the general laws, this charter, or town bylaws. Provided, however, that nothing in this section shall prevent the town from engaging or being represented by other counsel where appropriate. It is prohibited that any town office or agency to employ, advise with, or consult with any attorney with regard to its duties on any town business, unless such legal services are determined to be required, necessary, or desirable by the town manager after consultation with the town attorney and the office or agency involved. In advising the town with regard to intra-town matters, the attorney shall exercise independent and impartial judgment.
We have more than one attorney now representing us that we've appointed.
Right, and it says we
do
can,
that, so that's okay.
so that's there.
Yeah.
The only problems I see is we've had various up and down issues when it came to who could talk to an attorney.
Well, we also have established a procedure where they're not supposed to talk to an attorney until they seek the request. We have a form now that says request.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's, I mean, because I have a policy,
We have a
a
policy.
town council use policy.
Right.
But
Do they have
They
to
have to
get
go through me
permission from?
first. Mhm.
So what happens when it's, because the problems we've had in the past is what happens when it's with the town manager? So the town manager tells council you can't talk to the attorney, but it's in regard to the town manager. How does that has always been a problem.
The policy does address that. You know what? I don't remember what it says.
Because I think
I'm
we
gonna have to
ended
look.
with a vote of the majority of the council, right, or something. It became if the council wanted to seek,
But that should just be part of the policy.
Right.
Is that?
so do you have to acknowledge anything in that? Yeah, because at this point it's prohibitive, yeah, that any town office, council, or agency to employ, advise with, or consult any attorney with regard.
I don't even know why that's in here. That should just be a policy.
So you're saying the town appointment, the first paragraph is correct. The second is more of a policy driven.
Yeah, that should just be a policy, and then keep the third one because it says appointment and duties. And advising the town with regard to inter-town matters, the attorney shall exercise judgment and impartial judgment.
That was also an issue.
But I don't know, Yvonne, what do you think? That second paragraph, I think, is addressed with a policy. I don't know why
I'm
it's...
trying to look if we have a policy.
Well, we did, and then I think they changed it, and then, because there was a time, my understanding is that there was a lot of counselors were going to local legal, not that they're,
Right, and racking up a bill because
Yeah.
they don't...
because they just wanted advice on their own
Right.
things.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, well, it is a
was
problem
kind of
when
like
it's
something- it was an
$200 an hour.
It was an open door policy for a while or something. But then I must say, even when policy, I'll say it publicly, even when policy was put in place, it apparently was subjective.
Well, but if you have a policy and town council knows what the policy is, now, and there are some boards and, like the building inspector, does not need the town manager's approval to go straight to
Right.
town council.
That's an interesting one, because I'll be curious if that would be something that, I agree with you. Do you make note about seeing policy? Remember we talked about pointing out where things were, like at the beginning, when we talked about some of the things that were councilwoman reg type stuff, we were very specific to say,
Yep,
look here, look there.
so we could
say see policy or
put
something?
that in there that the town,
And that would encourage the council to always have a policy.
the town shall
That the town
adopt
shall adopt a policy.
a
Oh, I like
town
that.
council use policy.
Yep. Or use policy.
Mhm.
Because you also have that problem, the other problem that we've encountered in recent past, too much attorney usage, even by those who are approved to use the town council. And that's reflected in bills, in constant interaction and racking up those. But then I guess that becomes a matter of administrative oversight. So, yeah. Okay,
So
I like that idea.
what are we doing?
So instead of this paragraph, we
Which
would,
one?
we would
Second
recommend to
paragraph.
eliminate the second paragraph and
Eliminate that
replace
one?
it. Yep, and replace it with town council shall adopt,
No,
oh,
the town shall adopt.
the town, excuse me.
A town council access policy or use policy, what's it called, Yvonne?
What are you talking about? The
Your
town-
policy, what's the town's policy called?
Personnel rules and regs is what we have on that policy, is all we have.
No, there was
Oh, the standard operating
yeah,
procedures
it was
policy?
actually a standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
haven't
so
made those.
whatever it is, reference that, shall adopt that, And then as may be amended from time to time
Right.
regarding the use and access to town council.
So the town shall adopt a standard operating procedure regarding what?
Use and, access and use.
Access and use of town council, which may be amended from time to time.
Town council as in
Which may be
SEL.
amended as time from time to time.
Yep,
Which may,
as may be
Which
amended,
may be amended from time to time.
or as may, which say as or which?
as may.
As may, as may.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new name now, it's called.
I just think that that's not, it really doesn't say anything. And again, I like that idea, and again, like you said, we talked about it, referencing where to find.
You said we have standard operating procedure.
We were supposed to have a book, it was started, and that's the problem, nobody knew. Honestly, I don't know why we voted, we would work hours on stuff and even get consensus, positive, usually more than simple majority. And then when
See,
the
I'm
next,
starting from scratch,
when
so.
next council and somebody came up, we'd say, it exists, we
And then,
adopted it."
right, and then I always reference on adopted and the
Yeah.
date, whatever selectmen's meeting is adopted.
Oh, people go, yeah, that was previous council, we don't have to pay attention.
No.
What?
So,
In this office, but I have.
That's okay. We should probably mention to, that's something to bring up to say, are you familiar, is that something, because, every manager has kind of a different, act different ways, and just
Yep.
making sure that,
That-
Policy on use of town council.
There you go.
wow, shocking, it should be,
I
all
know.
the policies
No,
should be
I
in
know.
in a binder.
It is in the binder, but
Yeah,
it's in his
all right,
office,
you
and
just
I'm
found
not gonna go rummaging in his
your
office
stuff.
when I
No,
have
no.
my stuff. So.
Yeah, so that's what you put, so the town shall adopt a policy, whatever that's called.
Standard operating procedure?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's called the town,
Should be, I thought we already did.
it's operating procedure number
Right.
12.
Okay,
Right,
good.
Just standard operating procedure.
Okay,
Right.
so the town shall adopt standing operating
A standard, standard operating procedure. Doesn't, you don't have to say number 12, because it could turn
No,
out
Yeah.
weird. Just.
Regarding the use and access to town council or access to and use of town.
Use of town council.
You want to say
As may
regarding,
be, yeah, regarding,
regarding use and access.
yeah,
to
either
town.
way, AU, yeah, of town council,
Yep.
as may be amended from time to time.
Yeah,
That sounds really good.
See, that's all.
and then replace, so that's gonna replace the second
The
paragraph.
charter delegates to the town manager the authority to manage the town attorney, special counsel budgets, and as well as access to the attorney and town special counsel services.
Is that all it
But
says?
there was a whole bunch of, there was stuff to it.
Yeah, town council access to towns, yeah, it's all in these towns.
There was reasons for it. That probably needs to be reviewed.
Yeah,
Send it to Jenga. Because things have probably changed since then. All right, okay. And then the last one will stay in on the one that says, in advising the town with regard to intra-town matters, the attorney shall exercise independent and impartial judgment. He should, or she should. All right, chapter 7. It's today's. Write down the date. So move on to chapter 8. Good?
Yep.
Okay. Pam, why don't you do chapter 8?
Huh?
You can do chapter 8.
town doesn't have a town. Is this,
You got it.
town manager shall, 811. The town manager shall, subject to confirmation by the town council, appoint an auditor who shall annually, in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards for governmental financial audits, audit all town accounts and financial statements with regard to compliance with applicable laws, regulations, contract provisions, and/or grant agreements. The audits may be made by a certified public accountant or firm of such accountants who have no personal interest, direct or indirect, in the fiscal affairs of the town. All documents and reports presented to the town or any employee thereof by the auditor as a result of said audit shall, upon submission, be filed with the town clerk and shall be deemed public records.
Okay.
We did an RFQ for auditors.
Yeah.
We've done that.
Yeah.
Right, so the problem we had with this a while back was an auditor was picked and all, and never came to town for confirmation, so I don't know what's been happening lately. They've been going,
Yes,
yeah.
because we.
But there was a big deal, and that was like, well, it's okay, so what, so we can do it now, and it was, it was a real problem, because technically, according to the rest of the rules of the manager, who can be held liable and all that other stuff, nothing was held, nothing
Well, these
stopped.
are going to council.
So,
Recently, we've been doing RFQs, going out and
Yeah.
getting different quotes from
yeah,
different
Yeah.
companies.
of course,
The finance director and the manager reviewed them, and then they've gone to council,
Right.
to subcommittee, and then to
Right.
council, so we've
Yeah.
been doing.
yeah. No, that's the way it should be, but it was discovered, this was a few years back.
It's interesting that it says all documents and reports presented because there's some question as to whether a management letter is public information or not. So that's interesting. But this says that they all shall be public records.
But isn't it within, it shall be deemed public records? But, so, but if it's not, does it, you can't.
I'm not saying
say-
it's not, I'm saying there's a question as to whether it is or not. Most towns release it. Because really, to tell you the truth, who sits there and reads financial statements? Besides maybe the finance director and the treasurer and nobody sits there and reads financial statements. You read the management letter, that's where you get the
Yeah. I can
true.
remember going through the books when, as a new counselor, especially, you get your study. I remember going into Chris Clark's office and asking him some questions about things, and he said, you read it? And I said, well, wasn't I supposed to? It's just one of those moments.
So this is okay as is?
Is it okay, they've been?
Yeah.
All right. Check plus. Chapter 9. These are short chapters.
I
License.
like that.
I like liquor, I can do this one too.
All right, great.
Liquor license. Should have brought some with you.
All right, section
But
911.
that would not be allowed in the
I
town
know.
hall,
I mean,
for the
No,
record.
yes, correct. Unless it's in like one of those.
Unless it's in a tea.
I am kidding.
All right, public, we are having fun
All
here this
right,
evening.
yes. 911, okay. There shall be a liquor licensing board established in accordance with the laws of the Commonwealth, provided, however, the town manager is authorized to appoint 3 members to said board, subject to the approval of the town council. Provided further, the town manager shall appoint 1 alternate member, subject to the approval of the town council, and said alternate member shall be appointed without regard to party enrollment. Provided further, the 3-member board shall designate their chairperson and vice chairperson. All members so appointed shall have been residents of the town of Southbridge for at least 2 years immediately preceding such appointment, and shall serve for terms of 3 years, each so arranged that the term of 1 member shall expire each year. The alternate member shall sit on the board at the designation of the chairperson in the case of absence, inability to act, or conflict of interest on the part of any member of the board, or in the event of a vacancy on the board until such vacancy is filled by the town manager. All vacancies shall be filled by the town manager for the remainder of the unexpired term in the manner provided for an original appointment. And 912 says a person appointed to the liquor licensing board shall not be engaged directly or indirectly in the commercial manufacture or sale of alcoholic beverages, and if once appointed a member engages in such commercial manufacture or sale, that member's office shall immediately become vacant. Is that good?
So, do we have, are we full? Is the liquor board full? And is there an
It
alternate?
has an alternate position.
And does the he has an alternate over it? Okay. I was
It
gonna say,
has 3
because,
members with an alternate.
because I was gonna say, the alternate should be sitting in on meetings, I would imagine, in case something, because as a quasi-judicial board, you can only act on things that you're familiar with. You'd have to get up to speed if there was a case or something on somebody. So I would imagine they should, the alternate should attend at least.
I mean, I think that goes for any,
And I was just thinking about that. I don't think that's always been the case, but sometimes people who are alternates think, oh, they need to go home.
Shouldn't we say that an alternate member shall sit on the board and attend?
So it does say that it says the alternate member shall sit on the board at the designation of the chairperson in the case of absence. Well, so they don't really sit on the board. That's referring to in an acting position. they can
Correct.
sit at the table, they just can't,
They
you
can't.
know. But
But you
in
can't
order
make
to,
them go either.
right, yeah, no, can't make them go. All right, so I guess section 9.1 is good. There's nothing, okay. Section 2, are you continuing with liquor?
Okay, licensing other than liquor. 921, with respect to licenses and permits other than those relating to alcoholic beverages, the town manager shall grant all such licenses and permits and shall have all the powers and duties of a licensing authority under the general laws, provided, however, that the town council retains the power to delegate to one or more town agencies the powers vested in the town council by the laws of the Commonwealth to grant and issue licenses and permits, and may regulate the granting and issuing of licenses and permits by any such town agency, and may, in its discretion, rescind any such delegation without prejudice to any prior action which has been taken.
That's a mouthful.
So what does that say?
It says that
Sorry.
the building inspector, like I think licenses and permits that come from building inspectors, it's not the same as the licensing, the liquor licensing. The manager is in charge of all licensing and permits, except for the alcohol,
Yeah, 'cause we
Other
can't
than
rescind
the-
the
right.
alcohol.
other than those relating to alcoholic beverages. So it's kind of weird that licensing licensing other than liquor.
Yeah, because we can't rescind a liquor license.
Right,
That's
no,
all
yeah, that
for
was
the
to go through,
ABCC.
right. But then it says that the town can have 2 such agencies, so I'm assuming that's the inspections department, and who else has to give out a permit? There's an agency that would give out permits.
Inspection.
Fire department, board of health,
Oh, that's your fire department would be one.
fire
Board of
department.
Health for safety.
Oh. Let's see how far you have to go. Oh, right there. Look, they went on.
Are they?
Maybe it's in the corners. Maybe it's those little silver tabs. Something happened when you stood up.
She has the power.
All right.
Okay. So yeah, there's where that the licensing thing comes up again. So that's interesting. I don't know. I guess the two consultations and parts
We can't really do much with that.
I mean, those departments or agencies have already been, the powers are vested in them to issue such licenses. Okay.
But our mistakes too.
Okay. Sounds good. Mr. McCall has to do all those. Let's move on.
But I mean, he doesn't, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, really, what does, which ones did he?
The liquor licensing board,
Oh, he does the, there's permits and stuff, like town
There's
commons,
permits and
public, for a town property type stuff, and
Yeah,
common vic
common
license.
things are handled in this office, they're
Yeah.
doing this, yeah.
Yeah. So there are,
He signs all those.
entertainment,
Entertainment's done here.
yeah.
All, entertainment, common vics, one-day liquor licenses.
Those are done through,
Those are all done here.
oh, okay.
He signs all of those. Then we have to circulate a lot of things through the different departments, police inspections, say fire, safety, and all that stuff, so.
Yeah, they get the sign
They all
off.
sign off on all of those
Yeah,
things.
yeah, that's how I do it too, yeah,
That's how we sign off.
yeah,
or it's approved, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right then. Well, look, we've made it to chapter 10. This is all fun, so we can go back to those flags. Chapter 10 is financial provisions and procedures. All right, let's see. 10.1, applicability of general law. In all matters concerning finances and financial procedures of the town, the provisions of the general law shall apply, together with such other requirements as are provided by this charter or bylaw. Standard. Contracts. All contracts for services negotiated by the town manager shall be ratified by a majority vote of the town council. Any problem with that? Any exclusions? All contracts. I think that's been a sticking point at times, but
Yeah, that's,
all contracts for services.
like-
Now here's what it says, negotiated by the town manager. So if it's not, so if it's just a contract for services that's part of something else you're doing in another department, you don't have to have the town manager.
Like the RICO contracts or the purchasing.
They don't have to
we
come
don't
to
have
the council because they weren't negotiated by the manager. interesting
Well,
statement.
isn't it understood that the manager negotiates all contracts?
Well, all contracts for services versus something else. I don't know, I'm reading into the sentence now.
There are
It's
day-
not-
there are day-to-day operation contracts that I don't think are really negotiated by the manager.
It's just-
What about like just a goods and services contract for $10,001?
Oh, if it's something like that, yeah, those things. But I mean, if we have a small little contract like for, with a copier, we'll say for a person for a department, that's a small amount of money. Or just a regular do business type of equipment.
It doesn't go before council.
No,
That's not what it says though.
never has been.
And I thought, but you say that about copiers, and I remember, maybe it's only a budget time we talk about the budget, and we talk about the amount of money we need for the copier service or something. I'm trying to remember, I swear there was some time, I think some departments might have brought certain things to subcommittees and some didn't.
And I'm not saying they should be, because I think that's tedious, and I
It's-
don't
it's-
think
right.
that the
It's the
council
day-to-day
needs to be,
operations.
right,
No,
needs to be.
the everyday operations of those types of things would be, we would be running to council all the time. And ours, and they're long withstanding contracts, so it's not something you do every year.
But so shouldn't we
That is a
put
tricky statement.
because it's not true, this is not being followed. So, and I don't think it should be followed, because I think this is too broad. Should there be
Are you saying that it's not assumed, says all contracts for services negotiated by town manager? You say, well, doesn't the town manager negotiate all contracts? So you're saying that all.
it shouldn't say all.
Right, but you're saying, isn't that it? The town manager does all of them. But would not a department head, would a department head have the right to, like you said, decide on a,
Just for instance, we have a copy.
right,
When it's time to renew the lease or get a new, whatever we do, we sit and we evaluate it amongst us because we're the ones who use it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know what we
How much
use,
you
what
use,
we
yeah.
can, and we know what our budget is
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. So we do that, and then we bring it to him to approve. I don't think that should have to go to council.
I agree.
I think when it's come to council is when they've needed more money than they've had for certain things, like the copier contracts, because they were going to consolidate. I remember something about this coming to subcommittee of discussion, and it had to do with the bigger picture. When it was, I think when it didn't fall within the scope of maybe what was budgeted for something, then maybe it came from more
I
money.
mean, council should not have to be involved with every little detail thing of service that we do.
No, I know,
What we did
they're the
today-
appropriating body, as long as they appropriate the funds, then the town manager
That's
should
right.
be the one to sign up, but that's what I'm
When we
saying.
did the new HVAC system, and we did the new light, all of that stuff does go to council.
All that means.
So where is that line drawn?
Because this
This
was a
is all
sticking.
encompassing.
This was a sticking point at meetings in the past when somebody pointed out, just like the auditor thing.
Yeah,
This
Okay.
came up as all contracts
right,
are supposed to come to council, and you did not bring that $50 contract to council.
correct. So you don't want that. You don't want them to be able to do that, say that, it's ridiculous. There should be, I don't know, a dollar threshold or a type of contract.
Should we perhaps get some input on that? A suggestion on
yeah.
that?
You know, like
Yes.
all
Or maybe-
contracts, like DPW contracts, those are heavy-duty contracts.
Okay, but who
I
determines
know that,
that?
but
So,
it's been determined as far as long as I've been here, those are the contracts that go to council. These little things just have not.
Like when
completely
they're buying
agree.
salt for the year, when they're buying,
But
that
that
kind of
goes
stuff.
to council.
That goes to council.
Yeah,
All the plow people, all goes to council.
all the, like the service agreements, like for electricity, to get cheaper rates and all that kind of stuff, that goes to council. But, I mean, little things don't, so,
Even your goods and services agreement for, and I use that because I think that Karen uses the same that a bunch of us use. It's a standard
we
agreement.
have a standard increase.
Yeah, it's like, 4 pages long or something. We all use that template. And does that really need to go to council?
It has in the past.
But does it need to? Do you know what I'm saying? Does it really need to? The money is appropriated. And shouldn't it just need the town accountant to sign off on it, that appropriation is available, that the town council approved, and that the town manager signs it? That's what I'm saying.
I
So
agree.
are you talking about, so what is it as an administrator yourself, what's the suggestion of thresholds or of, you know?
I'd have to think about it, but I think this needs work because this is too all-encompassing, and I think it leaves too much room for interpretation. And like you said, if you get a counselor,
Especially,
you know, who's, you know,
right, that could be
Yeah.
who's gonna
dismissed.
freak out about a $50 contract
Oh, yeah,
and could
we
care
don't
less
know.
about a
Broke
$3 million
charter. Right.
road reconstruction contract, you don't wanna have to deal with that.
Right, and you break charter, you go against charter.
Correct.
That goes against you.
So can we flag this one to come back to
Yeah.
this, please?
And this needs thought and probably input at some point. Maybe, there may be a couple of times, at least in my opinion here, when we've been going through some things, this one is one of them that jumps out at me, where, you know, we're probably gonna be suggesting a lot of things, a lot of different changes, a lot of wording, but something like this, you know, it needs that input that we're not getting necessarily here, because we're not getting somebody sitting there agreeing or disagreeing, or counselors even, or, you know, that kind of thing. Not that they're here forever, counselors change, but it just seems like it's one of those, there may be a couple of those in the end of this process that we go, look, we know there's something wrong with this, or not quite right with this.
Right.
We didn't want to be 3 or 4, making the determination of what the suggestion is. We know something needs fixing, it's just, we got a few thoughts, but
What
maybe
if we
it's
said,
bigger.
Right, 'cause
what if we said all major service contracts?
Again, that's
Define
open
major.
to interpretation.
But within a dollar range.
Well, if you come with a dollar range, it's helpful. but-
That's why I think we need
Maybe Karen.
we need Karen's input and we need Mr. McConnell's input. I'm sorry, is that his, yes.
McConnell. Yeah.
We need his input, you know,
Yeah.
maybe even Heather's. I don't know.
Well, her
Because
contracts,
let's think about this. You might say it's dollars, but it might not be necessarily dollars either, because what if somebody puts the town into a contract for 100 years, maybe only it's $100 a month or something, but it's 100 years, or, do you know what I'm saying? Maybe it falls in the debt in the.
well, not that you say that, we go through all the contracts for like the council on aging for the exercise person,
Right.
for $100 goes to council. The Tri-Valley lease for $100 a month goes to council. We've been doing this for as long as I've been here.
Okay, so
So is it an
It's
overall
barely-
contract value? So say you got something that's like, what I'm saying is it could be abused in the sense that somebody could offer somebody a in perpetuity contract, you know, something that's like lifelong that the town is obligated.
well, no, you can't do that because
Okay, what?
the
Say-
procurement law limits it.
Okay, right, so there's a limit, so that's good to know, thank you, I didn't know they knew that. So, but I'm just saying, somebody could, so is it the overall value of a contract? You know, this contract is worth 100,000, even though it's
Right.
gonna take 10 years to get to that 100,000 or something, you know what I'm saying? The overall value perhaps is what we're looking at, not necessarily just the one-time 50 or
Right.
100 or 1,000, but the overall value, I think, of the contract should be taken into consideration.
Right, I mean,
Because it's an
major,
obligation to
like
the
you
town.
said, Yvonne, major may not be a dollar amount, it
No,
may
it might
be
be a big
what is the
project
major,
or-
it might be a major service.
Yes,
Right,
we might be stuck
exactly,
doing
so-
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we said we'd plow that parking lot for the next 20 years.
Well, even the new carpeting, which is not really a major thing, it would be just a small thing. Do we need to go to council for
Right,
that?
do you really need to? No,
No,
they've
that's what I'm
appropriated
saying.
funds to do that
Yeah.
stuff, and it should be up to the manager to determine that.
So,
So,
see, there's another thing,
that's
if
what
it's
I'm
already
saying.
appropriated budget for, you know, there's
You
so
still
much.
have to go to council though, even though it's appropriated in the budget. That's always been my issue. We've appropriated, we'll say, all this money in this department to do the work. And then when it comes time to do something in the capital plan, it's listed in the capital plan, you're gonna buy cruisers, you're gonna buy something, you still have to go to council to get that approved. The money's been appropriated, you already
So
voted
we
to
beat
buy
it up
it,
like 10 times.
but we've done that a million times.
yeah, again, it just, you know, I know council meets every other week, but it still,
Oh,
do you need to do that?
yeah,
Let the
because
manager
that's
do his
something-
job,
In
right?
a town type, you appropriate, so they do a budget for, you know.
Town meeting appropriates.
stuff.
Mhm.
So the town meeting appropriates two new cruisers, that kind of thing. When it comes time to actually buy the cruisers, it's over, right? I mean, as long as it fell within the appropriation that the town voted on, or not?
The Board of Selectmen has to approve all contracts
So they still have to.
in a town.
So, right.
But remember, the manager is the Board of Selectmen.
Right. Oh, well, he acts for, yeah, acts.
I mean, that's how I think about it in
Yeah,
my
but that's what I'm saying, so it doesn't have to go back to.
town meeting,
for another
no.
debate.
Unless it's,
The town
unless,
meeting already appropriated the money for
Correct.
it, so
Right.
it goes forward.
unless it's a contract of, like the trash contract.
Right.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, so if we've appropriated the money for this in the council budget and appropriated the budget,
Right,
accepted the budget.
capital budget
voted
said
on
2
the
new
budget.
cruisers, now
Yep,
guess what?
so the
We have-
manager is the chief procurement officer,
So he
he's
should
made
be-
sure that all of that is
He should be able to sign
adhered
off.
to, he should be able to sign off on the contract.
My
But instead it goes back, gets beaten up again, subcommittee gets
But
beaten up.
where do you draw the line if they appropriated so much money, now there isn't enough money to transfer money from the departments? on
Well,
those
we're gonna talk about
contracts,
that.
so that's another story.
That's transfer laws.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't think every little contract has to go to council, absolutely not.
No. So you gotta be able to, you
So
gotta
we
be able
have
to.
to limit.
And I think in hearing what you're saying, like, the exercise person at the Council on Aging does, but something else doesn't, I think there has to be, we have to define that a little better.
And that's what I'm saying, that major contracts, these aren't really major contracts, they're just little things, like.
Right.
Like.
So why does that have to go
Right,
to-
so why would that, we do it every year, not that it's right, but I mean, she does it every year for them. It's part of the Council on Aging money, and then, that kind of thing we get, it has to go and be.
I don't know how it's gonna shake up to, it's the, all transfers must be approved, all contracts must be approved.
Now,
I'm just saying, that's what the problem is.
for state contracts, like for grants and things like
Yeah, we
that,
approve all those too.
who's the signing authority? The second page, you get, he's the only one on that, on that?
Yes, the grants, they have to come, the request to apply for a grant goes to council. And then when we get that grant, it goes back to council to accept it.
But he's the signing authority on the
Yes.
contract, and then the second
And
page that lists whose ability to sign, okay.
He signs all the grants after they're accepted. He signs that standard grant document.
Well, first you have to,
Yeah, so, I mean,
it's permission to go for the grant, then
Yeah.
when the grant comes in, you have to accept the grant, so it can still go back even.
but he's the signing authority.
Yes.
So again, they've already appropriated the funds for a purpose. Like you said, if he lays out his capital plan and here are the things we're gonna be spending this money on, council approves the money, he's held to the fact that he has notified council, these are the things we're gonna be using it on. If you change that, you should go to council and say we're changing
Yeah,
it,
if you change it.
in my opinion. But then once you procure and you seek the services and you procure it and you enter into a contract, really doesn't have to go back to
No,
council.
because the finance director will verify that the money's.
They
there.
sign off, right?
Yeah.
They're required to sign off on all contracts, that funds are available, and then,
Wasn't there
My
an
opinion.
issue? With the-
Issues in the last one.
Well, I think also, when suddenly a truck appeared, a police truck appeared, versus, no, police truck. Police have a truck now,
Oh,
a
that-
couple of years ago. And where did the police get this fancy truck or whatever? Well, it turned out we had appropriated for the cruise, had the money and all that. And I guess when it came down to buy, they offered them a truck for the same or less money
Yeah.
than the vehicle, and it was a great deal, so they decided to get that instead. But there was a big rumor because the change of type of vehicle didn't come to council.
No, because then a little bit down the road, they need another cruiser.
Yeah, but even still though, it was that, everybody was up in arms, we got this big fancy truck that must have cost a lot more, and it turned out no, because there was some deal going on with the, and a truck, the 4-door, you can still arrest people, you can do all the stuff.
it's still a cruiser.
Yeah, it's not a cruiser, but it has more ability to do other things that, yeah.
And just from, let me just say that from being on the employee side of this for 30-something years, isn't that the department head's responsibility to make that determination on behalf of their department? They know what they think they need, and does it really
Just like when they
need
bought that-
council to get involved in that?
We had appropriated the money for that, but it didn't go to council, so someone can add that, and because it was already purchased.
Right.
It was appropriated in the budget.
Right.
And explained, and
And
here's
explained to
exactly
them.
what
And,
we're getting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's gotta be some way to,
I
yeah.
think that any contracts appropriated in the budget should not have to go to council.
that don't,
Or
you could have a caveat of that do,
wouldn't
that
have
fall
budget.
within the parameters as approved in the, or something like that, you know, if they fall all within the
That's why I think
prior,
that
previously approved criteria or
the
something.
town manager definitely needs to weigh in, what is he comfortable with, and Karen,
Okay.
what is
Any,
she
you know,
comfortable with
Any
too?
deviation beyond such a percent
Right.
must go back to count, or
But
something, you know.
I really don't think that they need to be getting involved in, you know, exercise classes for the senior center, I'm sorry. I just, I
Okay, so
really
that's,
don't.
that's a big one that needs a lot of help. Okay.
I will check with,
Alright, Karen will. Let's see, what's interesting. Alright, section 3, submission of budget and budget message. That's 10.3.1. At least 90 days prior to the start of each fiscal year, the town manager shall submit to the town council a budget for the ensuing year and an accompanying message, unless otherwise provided for by the general laws. So that's standard. 10.3.2, the town manager's message shall explain the budget both in fiscal terms and in terms of work programs. It shall outline the proposed financial policies of the town for the ensuing fiscal year, describe the important features of the budget, indicate any major changes from the current year in financial policies, expenditures, and revenues, together with the reasons for such changes, summarize the town's debt position, and include such other material as the town manager deems desirable. Good enough?
Does the town have a CAFA? A CAFA? Did they ever get an award, a CAFA for their budget? No, okay. That's just an off question.
Section 4, proposed budget. The budget shall provide a complete financial plan of all town funds and activities for the ensuing fiscal year, including the proposed school budget, and, except for the school budget, or as required by law or this charter, shall be in such form as the town council deems desirable and shall require. It shall indicate in separate sections proposed expenditures for current operations during the ensuing fiscal year, detailed by offices, departments, and agencies, and the method of financing such expenditures. And 2, proposed capital expenditures during the ensuing fiscal year, detailed by offices, departments, and agencies when practicable, and the proposed method of financing each such capital expenditure. So we had that little issue about the form that the council's deemed desirable this year. But of course, they allowed the last guy to do it for the last 3 years, so I'm not, because the first 2 he didn't really do anything. So I'm not really sure why it was such a big deal this year, since they didn't complain the last 3 years. Anyway, so is that good? We're good with that? Does it make sense? Yes. 10, maybe it's not as the council deems desirable, it should be as is standard form, you know, acceptable,
that's hysterical to me.
acceptable accounting practices or something like that, you know what I mean?
That's just hysterical to me.
It should be like acceptable accounting practices or something.
you changing it or leaving it?
Oh, I don't know, I'm just, I mean, it does put a lot of power in the council's hands when it's a budget process situation that only people who
That
actually do them
most
should,
of them have no.
they have no clue. Mhm. All right,
Leaving? Not to mention
Yeah,
that
leave it.
there-
let's we'll leave it. I'll make a line just for, let's just see. Okay, 10.4.2. In submitting the proposed budget, the town manager shall utilize modern fiscal principles so as to afford maximum information and financial control. The budget shall detail all estimated revenue from the property tax levy and other sources and all proposed expenditures, including debt service for the previous, current, and ensuing years, and shall indicate separately, A, proposed expenditures for both current operations and capital projects during the ensuing year, detailed by agency, purpose, and position, together with proposed financial methods, and B, estimated surplus revenue and free cash available at the close of the fiscal year, including estimated balance in special accounts and enterprise funds. Yes, no?
Yeah, we can go on that side.
Section 5, notice, this is a problem, right? Notice of public hearing on proposed budget. The town council shall publish in one or more newspapers of general circulation in the town, the general summary of the budget, and a notice stating, 1, the times and places where copies of the budget are available for inspection, and 2, the date, time, and place, not less than 2 weeks after such publication, when a public hearing on the budget shall be held. That was a problem.
Now, we changed some of that stuff in the beginning because of the technology to get it.
Right.
Right, but you can't just change it as part of the charter, so now's the opportunity to,
We changed it in the charter at the beginning of our meeting.
oh, at the beginning, yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. We did
Oh, that was for something else, right?
with all the technology and stuff like that for the
Yeah.
first time. We did all that. We changed all that.
Right, but now it's under here, so what section was that? Do you want to?
And what is our legal posting place registered with the AG? Is it the website?
The website.
Okay.
The website is the legal posting place.
Yeah. So that's the 24/7.
Yeah, that's.
This
the
newspaper thing
24/7.
costs a fortune, and
This
there's no
newspaper
newspapers.
thing, that's what we
It's-
said, we have a notice in these.
We don't have
South, the Sturbridge News, the Southbridge News, or the news, whatever, Stonebridge Press, they only publish on
Right.
Thursdays. And
I know.
it's ridiculous, you spend, it cost us because of, we had to put all that virtual information this year, over $200 for that ad. You know, I mean, and it shows up, like, nobody reads it down anyway. And I know that there are some people who don't have computers, but there are people who watch cable, so cable could be, was gonna be one of those points that we used. We have budget books here in the town manager's office, if anybody wants to review them, you know, come in and review them.
Post them on the website.
We posted the budget on the website, and we posted the evening on the website, and we did put it in the paper, but.
Right, like you said, I mean, when you first hit cable access, something, well, cable access subscribers situation, but so is the newspaper. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't subscribe anymore.
Nope.
And, you know, so it is kind of an outdated option. It's not like it was 10 years ago. Or 10 years.
So we're only a tenth
Well,
of.
that was what the council shall have to be published, made to be published. I remember that section.
Yeah, remember that?
We still mail to all residents our town meeting warrant. So this year, the town clerk and I put an article in to change that. No more mailing to all households. They shut it down.
Saved a lot of money.
No, they shut it down.
Oh, they shot it down.
They wanted to
Why?
continue.
Oh. Oh. Is that it?
I was just saying that today, we went to computers, we were supposed to have less people on the meeting.
Yeah.
I didn't keep it, they say you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe it's on chapter 2, it's chapter 3.
See what we did, I know we changed that stuff because.
We did, yeah.
We remember that,
It had to do with the council posting,
yeah.
they were posting information or something. It's like, it's gotta be 2. 'cause it's
Oh, the
not-
bylaws.
It's the bylaws?
It was the
or-
bylaws.
So that had to be section 2, chapter 2? Because
Yeah.
I'm missing chapter, of course I'm missing chapter 2. I just found 3 in 1. So chapter 2.
Meetings and quorums.
It's really strange.
I remember all that. Chapter 251.
Yeah, it was about that.
It used to be chapter 2. Opposition, eligibility. Roles and duties. Yep, meetings and quorum, section 5, 251, chapter 2, section 5.
All meetings shall be public.
Set forth, oh wait, no, that's the council's regular meetings members. No, that's not the right section. I just saw that also. Every bylaw shall be read, that's 261 and 2 and all that, that was a big section. Meetings, offer, meetings, actions. Yeah, had to do with the bylaws being posted.
Yeah.
In final competency, bylaws should be presented at the next, no, final adoption, take place adoption, where's the posting? So, committees reports, every bylaw should be read 3 separate meetings. Because it said the council shall make sure, not the chair, but the council shall make sure that it is done. What was that?
I remember we changed a lot of that.
That's so weird.
Prior to the first reading, council shall ensure publication of the
Yes.
full text on the town website and all pertinent public
Where is
media. No further discussion, all in favor, motion passes.
So that could be the same
Oh, I got
language.
that right here, I just found it.
What's it?
261,
Yeah,
26, any bylaws, and
Yeah,
then
but I
it
must
says,
have wrote my note on something else.
and then, prior to first reading, constitutional publication of the first reading bylaw, portions of the entire bylaw.
we
So
added
it's the same-
that in there.
We added that
Yeah,
in there,
yeah, because we're trying to determine how to say it. Everything else is included in that second section, so it's town website and pertinent media.
And all pertinent public media, because that might change.
Right, we don't know.
What if there's Stonebridge we have no longer? I mean,
Yeah. But public media being the cable access, being Facebook, being all public media.
See,
correct.
that's the thing, we post it in so many places out there, and then the councilors repost it too,
Right,
you know, so we have like,
right, that's called public media.
Yeah.
So if we put that same language in,
Yep.
if we utilize that,
So the town council shall
shall publish.
publish on the town website and, what is that, you have it there, Yvonne?
And public.
town council shall publish, what did you say again?
It's 10.5.1. The town council shall publish on the town website and what do we say, pertinent public
On the
media,
town website and all pertinent public media.
comma, the general summary of the budget and
Yep.
a notice state, it's the same thing after that.
Yep.
And so then there's the not less than 2 weeks after such publication.
So it just says the town council shall publish on the town website and all pertinent public media, the general summary of the budget and notice and all that.
Yes,
And
and all the
in
rest is
all.
the same, yep.
And in all pertinent public media.
Yeah, and,
Oh, that was easy. I moved, did some. This is the stretch. I know why you get up now, Pam. It feels good to stand if you can
I
say.
didn't want to get upset.
Okay. All right, well, that was a good catch. Look, we thought this section would be boring. So let's change to newspaper. All right, so that we're good with that? Shall we make a motion? We haven't been making motion, by the way.
They would have been staying as is and stuff. but-
This is true, mostly as is.
Yeah, so, wait a minute now, section 10-5.1, put the change in, discussion, motion to accept as amended. Is that what you want to say? We need a
Yes, should we
motion?
make
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous by all present.
Yep. That's it.
Okay, section 6, adoption of budget. The town council shall adopt the budget with or without amendments on or before the end of the 11th month of the fiscal year currently ending. In amending the budget, it may by majority vote of the full, let me try that again. In amending the budget, it may by majority vote of the full council, i.e. a minimum of 5 votes, delete or decrease any programs or amounts except expenditures required by law or for debt service. It may by 2/3 vote of the full council, i.e. a minimum of 6 votes, increase any amount in or the total of the proposed budget. Adoption of the budget shall constitute an appropriation of the amount specified therein as expenditures from the funds indicated. Oh, that's an interesting line,
So,
that last line.
Yeah.
Adoption of the budget shall constitute an appropriation of the amount specified therein as expenditures from the funds indicated. I mean, yeah, okay, so what? It says you're already saying these are expenditures, they're coming out of this money. We voted yes. Do I have to vote again? Just say it.
so shouldn't we put in there the town council shall adopt the town manager's proposed budget?
It's just assumed that it's the town manager's budget.
Well, his
Well-
proposed oh, no,
No,
wait, adopt
this
the
is the
budget
end,
with
the
or
11th.
without amendments, okay.
With or without amendments.
Right. I guess
They don't
the
adopt
next
his.
sentence, in amending the town manager's proposed budget, it may by majority vote delete or decrease any programs or amounts, etc. And this scares me. It may by 2/3 vote of the full council increase any amount in or the total of the proposed budget? I
Why
mean,
does it need 2/3 to increase and only 5 to decrease?
well, because, so
Because
that's my
that's
question.
important.
If they increase it, they have to have a corresponding revenue to balance the budget.
Yeah.
Doesn't say in here they're required to balance it. It just says they can increase a line items. I don't get that.
I was- the proposed, so they use the word, they only finally use the proposed budget
Right,
in that way bottom.
right.
Because I know, at first I'm like, well, looks like they can do it anytime they want, but now down bottom it's, but it's always proposed until it's
And
adopted.
they
so I
should
can
say
see-
right at the front then, the council shall adopt the proposed budget.
No, so the town council shall adopt the budget. They need to adopt the budget by the end of May.
Right.
But in amending the proposed budget,
So you're saying, but I thought that is possible. You bring a budget to council and they don't like it, they can throw you completely out the window by voting you to do something that then it doesn't get adopted. Then what happens? What
it
if they
says
don't?
right here that they have to adopt the budget prior to shall adopt the budget
With or without amendments?
prior, right. So whether they take the proposed budget by the manager or they amend it, it has to be adopted
So
prior
you're
to May
saying that-
31st.
You're saying because the budget has to be in a certain form, it would have to, you can't just change it that night and,
If you're having your meeting
just
on May
saying.
30th,
right?
I mean,
Yeah, but see, don't we do that isn't all of that stuff done with the proposed budget in subcommittees when they look at it? And they suggest, no, not.
Oh, no, because what happens is now they don't take any of it's recommendations up to council and those subcommittees,
Yeah.
as you know, which is
Yeah.
fine, that's, I mean, the legal authority is, but they don't want to see those changes when it comes to council, it's not coming with changes from subcommittee. It's coming as it was to subcommittee, and then it's coming with then if the well, first off, if the minutes get to the councilors, and if they read them, then they know that there was a lot of conversation and concern. Because if the chairman of that subcommittee doesn't eloquently explain all the recommendations or non-recommendations, then ultimately the council who sits up there then, at that moment in time, doesn't understand any of the work that was done in subcommittee.
And
This
that
has
used to
happened
be
this
my
year.
pet
I'm saying
peeve.
because it really happened.
right, that used to be my pet peeve when I sat on council, is the work is supposed to be done in subcommittee. So, especially during budget time, you're on 2 subcommittees. It doesn't matter, attend all of them with regard to the budget, because once you get up to that budget meeting, it should be boom, boom, boom.
But that's, yeah.
Any changes should be made prior to that, but after the subcommittee meetings, with any of the discussion that's been had in the subcommittee
What if
meeting.
the subcommittee recommends a change and they don't make the change and it goes through?
That happens all the
And
time.
the town manager doesn't make the change?
No, I mean, if a department head suggests an amount, or suggests a change, and then it's not recommended, or they're questioning it, and then it doesn't get changed, it goes through as is.
Yeah, but wait a
The
minute,
total
so,
subcommittee can't send up what goes on the council's agenda as a change. It has to come up as what was proposed with just a recommendation of how the change should be. The problem you had is when minutes weren't done, or, so it basically just came to council as though it just never went through subcommittee, really.
but the town council is acting on the town manager's proposed budget. So department heads meet with Karen, I'm assuming, and the town manager to put together the budget. when you go to subcommittee, the town manager and Karen and the department head are in agreement and discuss the budget with the subcommittee and defend. If they, however, suggest a change and it's agreed upon,
You know,
so what happens, so this says the budget needs to be adopted by May 31st. What happens if 2/3 of the council vote to increase line items? They don't propose a revenue source to fund that, and you have I mean, you can start your fiscal year without a balanced budget, you just have to balance it by recap time, but, I mean, does that happen?
Yeah. But the department head could find money somewhere else to fund that.
maybe.
Well, I'm just saying.
There's a lot of power in,
Yeah, but still, town council has adopted an unbalanced budget.
Right.
They're the only ones who can then go back and balance it prior to recap time.
interesting. So that, I mean, but that's how it's listed in here now. Was it always like that? I don't know. You know, I mean,
I think that if there's a change recommended at subcommittee or something at subcommittee that's discussed and they don't agree, it should be removed from the budget before it goes to be adopted. But apparently it's not, because there's only 3 councilors there and they let the whole council vote. The whole council votes.
right, so what I was told, so this year I said, well, because when we were talking about it and unanimously recommending something, it wasn't going to go on the agenda as such. And I was surprised. I said, no, that's not how it goes up in council anymore. You don't change the manager's proposed budget at subcommittee level. That is a council decision. But as I said, that's so well and good. Maybe there needs to be a meeting before a meeting, you know what I
Yeah, but the
mean?
manager has the ability to change his proposed budget before it goes to council,
Right.
based on the discussions in subcommittees, right?
I would think, but
I mean,
yeah,
you
I don't know
know,
what to tell you. It was kind of, I felt that it was a little weird this year. Okay, let's see, there's no proposed budget. The budget shall provide a complete financial plan. Let me see if it says in the notice. I'm looking to see if it changed, when did it change? Where's the adoption? Approved notice of public hearing, public records.
I mean, it is what it is, that's what it says, but that scares
Oh, no, it's
me.
actually 9/4, it's the amendment, 1987. It was amended. The town council shall adopt the budget with or without amendments on or before the end of the 11th month, blah, blah, blah. In amending the budget, it may delete or decrease any programs and amounts required by law for, let's see, except on recommendations of the town manager, it shall not increase any amount in or.
Okay, see?
Okay, let's see.
So when was that
Except-
language taken out?
Except on recommendations of the town manager, it shall not increase any amount in or, whoops, it's kind of weird, in or the total of the proposed budget.
Right, so when did that language come out?
Adoption of the budget shall constitute an appropriation of the amounts specified therein as expenditures from the, okay. So yeah, that was, so it was amended.
With the recommendation, what does it say? With the
Okay.
recommendation of the town
Alright,
manager?
All right. You do this there, blah, 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 increase, decrease, expenditure, blah, 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 source. Except on recommendations of the town manager, it shall not increase
Okay,
any amount in or the total of the
and
proposed
now
budget.
it says it may
It
by
may.
2/3 vote.
Up or
When
down.
was that language taken out?
All right, so all I can tell you is it was amended in this particular paperwork, which I have here, which the revised January of 1998. Doesn't mean anything. This was amended to read what it does right now.
Okay.
In 87. That's what it reads right now. So somewhere between 87, which would have taken effect in 88 probably, somewhere between, and then there was an election of 88, so that's still probably 88. So it had to have been either 90, 91, 97. It would have had to come out. No, I take that back. It was like this as of 98. If
Right.
we go to now.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
Now
sorry, I
that
did the wrong
language
button.
is
Yeah.
gone.
That language is gone, and it could have been gone as of 2003. Where the effective date was for, or 2016. So I bet you
So,
2003.
so when did that language come out of there? because that language makes sense to me.
Yeah.
2003 it came up?
2004 or 2016?
It would be it was effective, so that it was passed by the electorate in '03, but it became effective '04. Then there was a revised special legislation where we were on, I don't remember us changing that at all, 2016. Those are the only two times this charter's been changed since '98, or since, 97.
And that was, when was it in there?
98.
It was in there 98?
No, it
Yes.
was, yeah, it was according, yes, because the last revised, this is a copy as of revised date 1998.
Okay, so in 98, that language was in there.
And
Right.
then between 2003 to 2004, 16, it was changed.
Well, right, it only changed, whatever happened in '03 is what was effective in '04, so
Yeah.
it would show up in '03 or in '16, but honestly, I don't,
Because that's the in my
But it's
opinion,
possible
that's the
16.
language that should be in there.
right, that you can decrease, but you can't increase.
Correct,
Because
without
decrease
the
may-
recommendation of the manager.
Right,
Except upon recommendation by the manager.
right.
So where do you want to put that in there?
And
Well,
whichever-
first, can we see what happened?
Oh, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just
All right, so
asking.
let's make a
So
note.
let's flag and when I
Definitely
look for
flag
the others, I'll
this.
look for that.
Yeah,
That's section 6, 1061.
Yep, I'll flag, I got it.
Yep. And the reason we're looking for the language that was removed.
regarding except by recommendation of the town manager.
Language that was removed from the 1998,
It was the language it says without
Yeah.
exception?
hang on, charter, and it was the, oops, hang on. It was- Oh. The town council will adopt. Okay, right, so let me give you the, it's at, yeah, it's halfway down the paragraph where it said, it's on page 18 of this book, the one,
1998 one?
of the 1998 revised, is on page 18. And the second paragraph, halfway down, says, in amending the budget, it may delete or decrease any programs or amounts except expenditures required by law. Oops.
Well, what was taken
yeah.
out?
Or for debt, right, or for debt services. Well, it's kind of, you gotta
I
know
know, I got, well,
why.
that got the
now.
beginning of it, so now.
So after that, where it
Yeah.
says or for debt service, except on recommendations of the town manager, comma, it shall not increase any amount in or the total of the proposed budget.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me.
Okay.
And now it says they can by 2/3 vote. And it doesn't say
That's a
anything
big
about
thing.
keeping it balanced. That's a huge thing.
Right, because what you were saying, so even at the last minute, they could decrease it. But the idea of
Yeah, who cares?
increasing it, then you got no way to get the revenue.
Correct, and it doesn't say in here, so they put this language in there, but it doesn't say that, fine, council, you want to increase the budget, you need to also have an offsetting revenue source.
Right,
Where you getting it from?
right.
This language makes sense. That doesn't.
Where
I'll
is
find
the
out.
In my
revenue
opinion.
source?
Okay.
All right. Good catch.
Looking at another county.
And I'm so glad I'm looking at the old book. We just need to look at the original book sometime, right? All right, so that's under section 6. Section 7 is capital improvements program. Within the period provided by general law, the town manager shall submit to the town council a 6-year capital improvements program, which shall include A, a clear summary of its contents, B, a list of all capital improvements proposed to be undertaken during the next 6 fiscal years with supporting data, C, cost estimates, method of financing, and recommended time schedules, and D, the estimated and annual cost of operating and maintaining any facility to be constructed or acquired. So what's interesting is I read this is not exactly what we do, because we give this giant list of wants, but not what we're actually intending to get, because you can't get the giant list of wants. We are given a giant list of millions and millions of dollars of everything that may be needed or hoped for, but in reality you could not even ever be able to get. And
But are
yet-
they prioritized by fiscal year?
Yeah, they are.
They are, but they're still, most, it's just, you know, what I'm saying is it seems like I always say we get this whole big thing and it's just pushed year to year to year, whereas it just seems like it should be more realistic in what you're proposing. You don't need to put it all in there, you're supposed to put what you really intend and priority to get. But
For the next 6 years.
yeah,
For the
but
current
you're
next
just
6
not
years.
gonna, you know, I'm sorry, you know, take DPW. You're not gonna get $50 million worth of equipment in the next 6 years. You know, you might get $3 million here, or a few $100,000 for it. You're not getting that, because the end list is huge. You know, the whole amounts, it's yeah, we should replace all that. I think that's a different thing than what that budget should.
But is that just backup information that it might not make the actual town manager's capital plan? Is that just the requests?
No, that's on the final,
Well,
that final paperwork, which is ridiculous, because there's never a plan.
There's a request form that they fill out,
Yeah.
and it's added to the budget. But it's also added to the capital plan, within the year that they think they're gonna get. So it's like, they have this for this year, and then they want that for next year.
Yeah.
And they want that for 5 years out. And
Yeah,
that's,
but
you
it's-
know, and I know it's a big wish list.
Yeah,
you know,
it's more of a wish list
it's
than
a
an
wish list,
actual
but, you know,
achievable plan.
You don't always know what you're really gonna need, so you anticipate what you think you're gonna need, and that's what they do.
Yeah. I just feel as though sometimes when I read this makes more sense to what I would think, because I always said it didn't project like how to pay for, you know, sometimes it would, like in the past, some other ones that we would see said, you know, debt exclusion or whatever, you know, financing from bonds, but what started a few years ago was a list, and a lot of blanks in all those categories were how to pay for it, what to
That
do.
doesn't mean it's gonna be next
No,
year.
because now the capital plan, I know that Michael's planning on revising what that looks like. That, you know,
He was new here, so he wasn't.
you have to remember that the previous administration chose that because he, under the gun to put something together, because it had been 2 years. It was too new. And then all of a sudden it was what do you call it? It was a template of the best plan in Massachusetts, supposedly. But the reality is, unless you can fill in those blanks, it's just extended piece of paper with squares. And yeah, you know, it
Correct.
wasn't just put a list in and call it a day. It was, you were actually supposed to.
Correct,
Yeah.
come up with a comprehensive
You know,
plan.
like,
Right,
when
right.
when I first
And it's a
came
fluid
here-
document.
It is
Right.
fluid,
When
right,
when I first came here, Chris had a form where the guys filled out what they thought
Yeah.
they wanted to project out, and then he looked at it and made sense of it. It hasn't been done like that in a while.
Yeah,
So maybe it should be next time.
we'll see. I'm just, when I read this.
It's required to
sounds-
be, so.
Yeah. This one sounds clearer, you know, it's like the list of the improvements undertaken during the next 6 years.
Yeah.
Undertaken, not wished for in 6 years, but actual reality,
No.
like here's what we're planning on doing, and here's
Correct.
how we're gonna fund them.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a whole list here that I'd like to put in there too, so if something kicks in, maybe we can get it, but this is the plan.
Mhm.
That's,
That's my.
let me see if I can find something
That's
else.
the department head saying, listen, in, you know, year 7, I need this, in year 8, I need this.
But backup data, to include that as here's the reality, here's what I say, in order to fix this department completely, we need all this.
Yeah.
But here's my plan for what.
Here's the town
yeah,
manager's plan with
without all that other
priorities.
stuff,
Yeah.
because it just saying.
Yeah.
Interesting, I never really thought much about it until I'm reading that particular paragraph like that. All right, so does it make, is that
Mhm.
adequate then?
Mhm.
Okay. The above information may be revised and extended each year with regard to capital improvements pending or in process of construction or acquisitions.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Check plus. All right, where are we? 8 o'clock.
Yes.
You guys decide what time you want to quit.
a lot here.
Oh gosh, this is a long chapter.
You can stop there if you don't mind. I had a lot of people.
I know. Chapter 10 was like all the other
Unless you want to
chapters.
finish it, I don't care, you.
No, where are we at? Well, it goes to, what section?
That's
are you in?
probably a good place to stop, huh?
Yeah, leave the public hearing notice. Oh,
Well, no, let's go
Yeah,
through
let's do that.
Yeah, that's capital,
Because we know
so-
what we're changing.
Yep.
Notice of public hearing on capital programs. I can guess this first one. The town council shall publish in one or more newspapers of general circulation in the town.
Shall publish in the town website.
We'll cross that. The general summary of the capital program and a notice stating, 1, the times and places where the copies of the capital improvement program are available for inspection by the public, and 2, the date, time, place, no less than 2 weeks after such publication when a public hearing on said program should be held. So change the publication. All in favor of that change?
Oh, I'll do a motion?
I'll second.
Wait a minute. Motion by Pam, seconded by Denise. Okay.
All right. To
Section-
amended to read
Yeah.
town website
Section
and,
8.
and all pertinent public publications.
Yep.
The PPP. And 1082 is part of that, right?
Yeah, now see, there's language in here
Uh-oh.
that makes sense.
1082.
Yeah.
After
Go
the
ahead.
public hearing,
Yes, by resolution.
and on or before
Yeah.
the end of the 11th month of the current fiscal year, the town council shall adopt the capital improvements program by resolution,
Yeah, by resolution.
with or without amendment, provided that each amendment must be voted separately, and that any increase in the capital improvements programs are submitted,
Submitted.
as submitted, sorry.
Yeah.
Any increase in the capital improvements program as submitted must clearly identify the method of financing
Yeah,
See?
proposed
so
to
there it
accomplish
goes.
the
There
increase.
you go.
And that's exactly what I'm saying, going back to the budget.
Right.
That, no language like that is in there.
Right, so that's very strange.
That stays, that's really good.
That's good
No,
language.
that's-
All right, check was. All right, cool, so we finished.
So we'll start at appropriations next month, and next week I wrote
1091,
10-9.
supplemental appropriations, yeah,
And
section
section
9.
9.
Yeah.
Start here.
And maybe get through chapter
Next meeting date.
2. Yes, we're back to that now, let's see where we're at.
13th?
July.
July 5th. July 14th, 13th, yeah. All okay with everybody?
Yep. 6 o'clock?
Sure. There was something. No, it's after, never mind, there was something.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved. All in favor? Unanimous, present.